rewatched the match to see the Saka disaster class against Cucurella. Hacked down 4 times, got past him 4 times. Still cannot see the bad game Saka had.
I agree.
On paper, Saka had a great game. But
another overrated.
But at the end, guys, at the end, he popped up when needed, right?
When you say Saka's overrated, what do you mean, Don?
He's not world class. That's what I mean, Terry. He goes missing too much in too many games, man. Over 90 minutes. Over 90 minutes, his performances don't warrant this world class label.
Can I counter that? I'm sorry, guys. Can I counter that? Mohamed Salah in the Liverpool game against Everton was really losing the ball every time he tried to. This guy Mikilenko had a game on him, right? But at the end, Mohamed Salah popped up when needed. 2-0, man of the match. Saka, one of the reasons they got the draw. Done.
Yeah.
Are we comparing that guy?
I'm not saying world class, Don. But at the end, Saka is one of the main reasons Arsenal walked away with a point from the bridge.
So Don said it's not world class. You came with a counter, but then you said
no. But
I'm not saying
goes
counter to that. I agree with you, but let me give you a counter anyways.
The counter to that is that he said he ghosted through the game. Fine. But when sometimes
too many games.
Don, that's what the best players can do. They can do nothing for 90 minutes. But if they pop up with an assist or a goal, they still leave with something. That's what the best players do. I've seen Salah do it counter time for us. I'm not really Bruno's biggest fan, but I've seen Bruno even do it for United. They can do nothing for the 90 minutes, but when it matters, when you need to produce that moment of quality, they can.
When has Saka ever produced moments of quality consistently when it's mattered? Because all I remember last year is he was missing penalties at West Ham.
Well, he did.
The last few games.
So you remember one missed penalty? No, you're waffling. So I'm going to cut you off because you're waffling.
I'm not waffling.
You are waffling. You remember one missed penalty. You don't remember the pressure penalties that he scored. You don't remember the goal that he scored against United at home, for example, that got us back into that game an absolute worldie.
Penalty. He scored against us. A penalty.
Let me break it down.
Let Rory finish, and we'll go back to you, Don.
Yeah, basically, you've nailed his entire season, which was a fantastic season, and one that he's got, a Ballon d'Or nomination for, or else he's not going to win it. You've nailed it down to one missed penalty. Enzo Fernandez missed a penalty this season, by the way, so I assume whatever he does for the rest of the season, you'll boil his season this season down to a missed penalty against West Ham, funny enough.
No, I'm talking... You're funny. I'm talking about...
Rory is a changed man. Rory is a changed man.
Rory, I can't lie. That tickled me. Now, listen. For me, again, guys, I rate Saka. I think Saka's a good player. And I think Saka has definitely got the ability to become world class. All I'm saying is over 90 minutes, he doesn't get involved in the game enough for me. He gets marked out of a lot of games, okay? He gets marked out of a lot of games, right? He doesn't beat his man enough for me. And like I said, taking away the goals and the assists, when they dry up, what happens? Arsenal fans themselves start to complain, oh, Saka's burnt out, or Saka's not looking the same because he's not scoring, he's not assisting. For me, how I look at it, right? I look at his goals and assists. I big him up every single time. Hence why I'm saying he's on the verge of being world class. But I've seen him put up good performances like he did against France for England. He was our best player that day. He won us a penalty. He was literally, everything was going through him. So I know that Saka has that in him, but he doesn't apply himself enough over 90 minutes.
So what you're saying, Don, is he's a 21-year-old kid who's still got a long way ahead of him. That would make I don't really understand what you're arguing.
What I'm saying is he's on the way to becoming world class, but the world class shouts right now are a little bit too much premature.
I would say that's fair. I don't really know that there's many that are saying he's world class, but maybe there are.
There's a lot.
Just to debate your point about him not doing enough over 90 minutes, in the game against Chelsea, where I think you think he didn't do much, statistically, most duels won of anyone on the pitch, most chances created of anyone on the pitch, most take-ons completed of anyone on the pitch. You said he doesn't take it past his man. More than anyone on the pitch.
How many chances did he create?
3 chances created, 3 take-ons completed, which is, again, is more than the likes of Cole Palmer and stuff, who you were massively gassing up. Joint most tackles, joint most fouls won, most fouls conceded, joint most interceptions, and an assist that tied the game.
Because I counted about...
But hold on.
But this is what Don, I just want to say, this is the thing, right? Eye tests are great, but if your eye test is right, the stats should back it up. Looking even on dribbling, he's the 11th most successful dribbler in the league this year, completing around two per game. To put that into context, number 1 and 2 this season have been Doku and Eze, and they're completing 3.5 on average per game. So it's only at 1.5 less, right? But then when you start breaking the rest of it down, key passes in the top 4 for that. He's the one of the top goal scoring inside forwards in the league. 3 assists. As like when you look at the metrics, the level of chances he creates per game, the level of actual goals and assists, the amount of dribbles that he completes. puts him in the top 10 for almost everything, and in the top 4 for everything other than dribbling. So to say that he isn't consistently producing when he's out producing the vast majority of the league as an inside forward just doesn't make sense to me, because if he was as inconsistent as you said, he wouldn't have some of the top numbers out there, would he?
Yeah, but I think this is what I'm saying. You got to use your eyes first, Terry. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, Don. You can't. If someone says, because again, no, you don't. If somebody says to me, Saka doesn't complete any dribbles, and he's completing more dribbles than 95% of the league, I'm gonna dispute your claim and say it's wrong. If at the end of that there's no creativity, then you've got a point. But he's got higher creative levels, high goal scoring levels for this stage of the season, very good dribbling statistics, very good.
He's got 2 goals from open play, by the way. 2 goals from open play.
Okay, so Cole Palmer. Hang on a minute. You were praising Cole Palmer for his performance yesterday. His goal wasn't from open play, so you're going to exclude the goal.
No, I didn't exclude the goal. I spoke about his performance on the pitch. Is what I spoke about mainly. And he buried his penalty.
Hang on. This is what I'm saying. To act like Saka hasn't put in good performances for me is disingenuous. When you say they're not consistent, I want you to answer this question for me. If his performances overall, I'm not saying he doesn't have bad games, they're not consistent. How can he consistently have some of the best numbers in multiple areas that you analyze players? How can the numbers be high if the performance isn't there?
This is what I'm saying, Terry. Over 90 minutes, bro. I'm not saying that Saka goes throughout the whole game. That's not what I'm saying. I know Saka does things here and there because he gets the ball a lot, bro, and he helps them retain possession. If you look at how many times he's passed the ball back here this year, he's literally second behind Kyle Walker. He's played the ball back a lot, bro. Most backward passes after Kyle Walker this season, right? So I'm not saying that Saka is completely.
You're coming for the wrong player here, Don. I don't know where
no, bro. I'm just saying that he's not world class in it, in my opinion. For me, he's not world class.
I understand what you're saying, but this whole 90 minutes thing again. It just doesn't. I think it's something that people started saying on social media, but it doesn't exist in real football. And what I mean by that is, okay, he doesn't do it for 90 minutes. If we look at key passes, so this is passes that break lines and create chances. Bruno Fernandes averages 3 per game. James Maddison this season 3.1 per game, and Kieran Trippier 3.2. Everyone's raved about Maddison and how he's been dominating games and creating. Saka's doing 2.8 per game. So my point is, are we just saying that Saka has a good 10 minutes where he creates almost 3 chances per game and then does nothing else for the rest of the match? And if so, let me finish. And then Maddison's been amazing for 90 minutes every game. How is he only creating 0.2 more chances if he's consistent for 90 minutes versus a purple patch player in games? The point is the maths and the facts don't match your eye test. It's like,
guess what, though, Terry?
It don't make sense.
Guess what, though? Let me ask you a question then, because last year I was saying Saka's actually improving his performances, is what I was saying. This year, would you say that Saka's looking like what he was looking at last year, bro? Because I was bigging up Saka a lot last year, bro. A lot more than I am this season.
Again, but this is the question. You're now looking at an individual within a team sport. So for me, Arsenal have not been as fluid in terms of how they're playing in games. So the whole team looks different. So yes, Saka doesn't look as potent as he did last year, or is fluid, but that isn't because the whole team's doing it and he's struggling. It's because the team is playing differently. And for me, 9 games into the league season, the way they're playing, this isn't a form issue. This is an instruction from the manager. It's too many games, in my personal opinion. I think they're being told to play slower. I think part of the reason Dan called it earlier is so that maybe there's some legs left come March, April, May. I think they're not going full guns blazing this early. Jurgen Klopp made that mistake in his early time in the Prem, where they would play every game 100 miles an hour. 70th minute would hit in matches, and they would fall off the edge of a cliff, and they conceded so many goals. And they had to learn to change. So I think that's what it is, bro. But the point, I talk about this all the time when people say things like Rashford makes exponentially more bad decisions than his peers in his position. The numbers don't match the opinion, because if he's in a team that has less possession and is worse than the big boys, but he makes more poor decisions, how is he dribbling as much, scoring as much, and creating as much as his peers? If that claim is true, it just does not add up. It's a fallacy that's been created through bias. You can say he's not world class, that's fair, but to say he's not consistent, but yet his numbers are on par with all the players that everybody says are consistent.
Where did I say he's not consistent? I said over 90 minutes. I said over 90. Who's consistent over 90 minutes? I literally said, right? Saka gets the goals and the assists. I can't take that away from him. And I literally said Saka is on the verge of being world class. But I want to see more over 90 minutes is what I said. I want to see him involved in the game more over 90 minutes. That's all I've said. everyone's perimeter of world class is different.
You know that's very rare to be very good at optimum level from minute 1 to minute 90.
I don't think, especially
I see him get marked out of a lot of games, bro. This is not me just happy. I see him get marked out of a lot of games, bro.
Sorry, just want to say this before we move on. Again, barring say Lionel Messi and a few players like this, do you know I've watched some of the greatest footballers of all time get marked out of many, many games. Nostalgia takes over, and we think back to the 90s. I saw Henry get pocketed dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of times in the Premier League. I have seen Zidane get taken out of games in the Champions League, mainly. I didn't watch a lot of Italian or Spanish football when I was younger. I've seen the greats have it done to them. This notion that world-class players are brilliant for 90 minutes, 95% of the time, it's a weird fallacy we've created, or nostalgia. Players go through multiple games where they get taken out of a match. It's always happened. Some of the greatest players of all time, and maybe it's an age thing, and you don't remember it because when it's that you're only a young man. But I think it doesn't make sense.
I think Haaland's been marked out for a few games. Is he not world class? Like,
that's a couple, man. We know what Haaland's strengths are, though. Do you know what I'm saying? We don't expect Haaland to be this guy that's literally in the game for 90 minutes. Haaland, get the ball to him, he's gonna score. That's what he's there for. That's his role. That's not Saka's role. That's not Saka's role.
How do you know what his role is?
What do you mean? How do I know what his role is? He's literally a complete opposite to Martinelli. He's there to obviously retain the ball and keep the ball moving for them.
Okay, again, that's what you want to see him do. But we've had this conversation so many times. Man United fans get angry that Rashford doesn't track back as much, but people that are at the game are like, the manager tells him to stay up. The manager stay up there. So it's again the manager's instructions stay up there. Fans on TV say no, you should be tracking back and running. Well, if you're being told to do something, I don't know. I think it's a bit harsh. I want to try and get through these super chats, boys, just before the end of the show, and there's lots of them. Sorry, gents. This says a big part of why Saka sometimes get marked out of the game is because teams double up on him. Surely that alone tells you other managers and teams fear what he could do if they don't stop him. Which is a fair point.
So stop criticizing Rashford for the same thing, though, because he does get doubled up.
Yeah.
So I just want consistency. And this is coming from someone who's not a big Rashford fan. You already know that.
You've heard me talk
about Saka's output is there.
But listen, this is exactly like Rashford hasn't scored the goals this year, but I defend Rashford because people lie about him. Like, and I've said before, no one's shown me any data that proves he makes more.
Coming at you. I'm just
no,
saying
mate, I know you're not. I'm agreeing with you. People said to me for 4 years he makes more poor decisions, than other players in his position. I've been asking for 4 years for someone to show me the data on this. Prove to me he makes those, like, doesn't use the overlapping run more than anybody else. Because I see hundreds of players not do it, and no one talks about it. But when you create an agenda, you know, like Pogba's agenda, the walk-in stat. We never got shown by Sky Sports everybody else's walking stats. So we have no fucking idea if walking for 20 minutes is good, bad, or indifferent. Stats can be manipulated. Equally, if you make a claim that a player isn't consistent, you've got to back it up with facts, not just eye test. But there we go. Rory Palmer was taken off. Saka wasn't. Blurry stat.
Yeah.
Back up to Saka anyway.
Saka didn't rainbow flick the fullback. He's crap, is what Ultra.
This is where Arsenal fans go wrong, because I love Saka. I think he's a top player, but I just think it's premature. These shouts of world class are premature, in my opinion.
Okay, I hear you on that. Maybe he shouldn't have jumped. He needed to block it with his body or feet. You can't just throw yourself at the ball and see what happens. That's obviously back to the Saliba handball. This is gone in. Sorry, go on. Sorry,
if he'd gone in with his feet at head height, I don't think that would have been a much better outcome.
Yeah, and then he catches his head and gives the penalty. Yeah,
and gets a red card.
Don, learn to rewatch the games with context. Watching a game live leaves you susceptible to emotional bias. Stats confirm what we see with our eyes.
I've literally said Saka had a better second half, and you guys literally made a compilation Saka second half. I saw it earlier on Twitter. Because in the first half he stunk out the place.
Yeah. This is Staffy. You can learn a lot from Rory. Just stop twerking. Don, nobody believes in your rubbish. Big up Roms and Potts. Don's great. Love Don. Saka gets doubled and tripled, teamed every time. I might call him Maya. On Saka, only Haaland scores more goals that earn his team points, equalizes winners basically last season. Lots of games for us is what Gig says.
He actually has a low stat on that. Is he saying Haaland has that stat? Haaland had one of the lowest stats in terms of scoring, winning.
He's comparing him to Haaland, so he's not saying that they're the highest in the league. He's comparing him to us.
Saka's Premier League stats this season: 8 matches, 4 goals, 3 assists.